Are you a healthcare leader watching your care coordinators quit from drowning in paperwork and burnout? Do you see them spending more time doing documentation when they wish they could be caring for another 100 to 150 more patients instead? In the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'll show you how we're helping companies doing telephonic care coordination scale significantly while reducing care coordinator burnout and turnover. I'm someone who built and ran a care coordination company. My coordinators were spending upward of 60% of their day on documentation. With coordinators maxed out at 250 patients each, our growing wait list meant that we were turning away hundreds of thousands in monthly revenue. I knew that we had to build something different. Not another tech company trying to disrupt healthcare, but a tool that's actually built by care coordinators for care coordinators. Instead of trying to replace care coordinators with AI like many tech companies out there, we built what they actually needed: a copilot that handles all the brain work so they can focus on the heart of patient care. Our philosophy is simple: build the brain to amplify the heart. Think about it. Technology is excellent at being the brain, handling data, remembering details, managing tasks. Humans are irreplaceable at the heart. So let's dive in and I'll show you exactly what we built. All right, first let's take a look at how Careco helps your care coordinators prepare for their call. Imagine if in the morning, instead of spending 20 minutes gathering data, logging into the EHR, looking at care plans, looking at previous documentation, trying to rack their brains to remember about this patient, imagine if instead of all that, they saw this feature here called the call guide. If I click on this call guide, it's doing something really powerful. It's using the power of generative AI to take all of the context that we know about the patient and stacks it on top of an objective for the phone call. So by taking everything that we know about the patient from their conversational data, from educational content, from their care plan, from other sources of data, maybe social determinants of health data, and stacking that on top of an objective, we're able to build this incredible, hyper-personalized list of questions for the care coordinator to ask the patient. Very often, calls right now, they sound like, "Hi, Vanessa, it's Mendel. Do you need anything? No? Okay, I'll talk to you next month. Bye." Click. They're not engaging, they're not personable, and they're not effective. And so with Careco, by giving you these hyper-personalized talking points that are not just personalized to the patient, but personalized to today, because by the time you do your next call, we're gonna have more intelligence on that patient and it's gonna remain dynamic. By creating these conversations, we build relationships with the patient and we make sure that every single phone call is impactful and is actually improving patient outcomes. Now, a couple days ago, I just ran a call guide on a live patient. And the first question was the most beautiful, perfect question that you could ever want from your care coordinators. The question was telling the care coordinator to check in with the patient because her mother had passed away, and to express empathy, the grandkids were coming over, there was a whole lot going on in the patient's life and it was very overwhelming. And Careco was telling the care coordinator to check in. And I looked at that question and I said, this is such a beautiful question. This is such a high standard, such an ideal to start off a care coordination call. As long as the data is correct, because if this patient's mother had not passed away and that was some sort of hallucination, then that just went from the best question ever to the worst question ever. And so when it comes to using generative AI, transparency is really key in where you're taking your data from. And that's why you'll notice this giant piece of real estate on the screen here that is purely dedicated to source data. And so every single thing throughout Careco has citations that you can click that will pull up the exact piece of real data that's informing the generated content. And so in this case for the call guide, that might be from previous conversations, it might be from their care plan, it might be from educational content. Whatever we have access to in that data stack can always be cited, so you can always make sure that you're acting and speaking to the patient based on real, verified data. This also drives home that message of Careco, that Careco is built to help you do your job, not automate you and not do your job for you. And so we're always gonna be transparent in giving you the exact data and the exact sources that are informing the generated content. So, I'm sure you're wondering about documentation. Well, as soon as the patient and the care coordinator get off the call, the care coordinator lands on a page that looks like this. And so they immediately get the full transcript of their call together with audio. So you could listen to the entire thing. You can listen to the individual snippets. You can visually see who said what. And this transcript right here is not an off-the-shelf transcript. As many of you, I use AI tools all the time, and some of them are really horrible when it comes to the transcript. We put a lot of work into this transcript to make sure that it's not just super accurate with what was said and who said it, but also specifically trained on the types of conversations that we're having in care coordination. And so there's going to be medication names, disease states, chronic condition, medical terminology that might be thrown around in these calls. And so by training it specifically and fine-tuning it on that, we've made these transcripts super, super accurate. In the center here, you're going to see your clinical documentation that's done for you. Once again, citation to source data, which in this case is the transcript. With Careco, you can always edit everything. You can also copy your selection and paste it to your destination. If you try to copy it, it makes you confirm that you've read and agree with the content, because once again, this is here to help you do your job, not do your job for you. The next thing beyond the documentation are the tasks. And I think this is one of the biggest increases in quality that we've been able to add in Careco. This is one of the features that our users are raving about. And the reason is that the task feature listens to the call and then itemize every single thing that you have to do for your patient. Now, if you're a care coordinator, that's really helpful because you don't have to sit there and remember details. Did the patient ask for an appointment on Monday at 12 o'clock or was it 1 o'clock? And did they ask for a 90-day refill or a 30-day refill? You don't have to remember details. It's all going to be there for you. And if you're an executive, if you're a healthcare leader, if you're a manager, talk about quality reporting. Right now, your users are not creating tasks manually, because if it's going to take me the same amount of time to just take care of the patient, like just send a provider a message, I'm not going to create a task that says, send provider message. I'm just going to send the provider the message. But then there's no documentation on that. It's not reportable. And so with Careco, all of this goes into quality reporting, so you always have what to show for your effort. Now, another really popular feature with Careco is anything to do with a communication. So the example is, let's say the task is to notify the provider. So Careco will tell you to notify the provider. We'll give you all the context, and the rest of this note, we give you the citations, you can edit it, you can delete it, but now you got to go to the EHR and you actually have to type out that message. So with Careco, you just click message text and it'll write the message for you from you to the doctor with all the relevant information. And this is so cool because it formulates this message in the exact format that the doctor is going to want to see it, both from a level of conciseness and from a terminology perspective. You can choose a friendly or a formal format, depending on how you communicate with the doctor, and then you can go ahead, copy it, and send it off to the doctor. Finally, you're going to see our patient message. And this is a patient-facing summary on the call, which is going to be very different than the other documentation or provider messages. It's going to talk to them about your calls to action, what you want them to do, how they can get in touch with you, and anything relevant to the patient post-call. So this is a great engagement piece. We can have it set up to text to the patient, email to the patient, or you can copy paste it if you use any kind of portal. All right, so let me show you around the dashboard. Now, for privacy purposes, we might be blurring out some things, but we'll show you enough to get the point. When it comes to a dashboard, we know that you don't want to go searching for data. You want the data that you're looking for to just be there for you. And so we have different levels of dashboards. We have different views. So for an individual user, you're going to see a dashboard that looks like this. You're going to select a time frame, and you're going to see the total amount of tasks that you have completed, the total amount of tasks that you still have to complete. You'll see the total amount of calls that you've made, any calls that you've missed. You'll see the average amount of time spent per patient, which is super important. You'll see who's talking more on your calls, whether that's the care coordinator or the patient. You'll see the total amount of time spent on the phone, and you'll see the total amount of unique patients called. Now, we're continuously adding metrics, and we're going to continue to add quality metrics, analyzing the quality of the call to this dashboard. But this is a really good way to kind of have a home base that you can see exactly how you're doing at your job. Well, next we know that managers are going to want to see the entire team. When I click this, I immediately see who my best performing and my worst performing employees are. I can include and uninclude metrics very easily by just selecting them or deselecting them, and then I can immediately see who's doing best and how my entire team is doing. Now, if I'm an executive, I want to see how the entire company is doing. So we have the executive view that immediately tells you all those individual metrics, but for the entire company at large. So I can see the total amount of tasks that my company has created, completed, and still has to do. I can see the total amount of calls. I can see the average amount of time for the company spent per patient, the total amount of time spent on the phone, who's talking more, my team or the patients on average, and finally, the total amount of patients called. And so this is an incredible way. It's been so helpful for our clients and even my team at Proviva to be able to just have a snapshot and look at how your team is doing. And on the individual level, a really good place to hold them both accountable and celebrate their successes when they've got a clean dashboard, they've completed all their tasks. It's become a really, really useful home base for the users and for managers. Now, we actually built an entire phone system into Careco itself. And this is interesting because when we started, we didn't start out with the vision of building a phone system, but we kind of fell backwards into it because as we were building Careco, we realized that there are no phone systems that are built for care coordination. All phone systems are either just a vanilla phone system or they're built for sales. And anyone that does care coordination knows that there's a lot of nuances that goes into the workflow of care coordination when it comes to the phone system. Whether it's an extreme level of importance on the quality of the call showing up correctly, the caller ID, understanding that many care coordinators are working on multiple different practices, multiple different accounts, and they want to be calling out of different numbers and making that very clear, to the way that the calls come in, the way that the IVR behaves, the way that after hours behave with on-call options and voicemail options, and even down to the hold music that should be specific to care coordination. There's so many pieces of the workflow that are unique to care coordination. That on top of the fact that we needed to be able to control the quality and make sure that we had top quality phone and audio, we built a phone system directly into Careco. And we're so happy we did because it made Careco so much more of a deeply integrated workflow tool. And the ease of just the entire workflow being in one place, from making your calls to getting the data that you need, has been incredible. And so going to the phone system, all you do is buy a number and immediately Careco puts everything together for you. So you'll get your number, we'll create the caller ID, which you can always edit. We'll create a welcome message for you that you can always edit. You can choose different AI voices on how you want it to sound. You can create a closing message. You can decide what happens after hours. And so what you do is you set your normal hours of operation. You decide which days you're closed. And then you decide how it behaves after hours. And you could either forward it to on-call or you can leave a voicemail, which you can create as well, always edit and always play. After that, we created something called auto transfer. And this is really just for the patient experience. We decided that if a patient is calling Careco and Careco knows who the care coordinator is and knows if they're available, the patient should just ring directly to their assigned care coordinator. There's no reason for them to go through this whole IVR. And so when that's checked off, it'll ring directly to the patient's assigned care coordinator. Now, we automatically will assign the correct extensions for you, which you can always change. So instead of having to redo your whole IVR every time you change a user from this account to that account, or if you get a new hire, or if an employee is let go, we create a separate space for you to have your users, which you can easily toggle on. We also know that often users are not going to go by the exact same name that they have in their profile. And so you can actually edit the way that the user's name is pronounced on the IVR. And so you can change this, and then maybe if your name on your account is Rebecca, but you go by Becky, you can change it so it'll say, for Becky, please press 1. And so it's been really fun building this out, and it just once again reinforced how incredible it is to have this deeply integrated workflow tool with everything in one place, all the way from your phone system to your documentation, your call guide, your dashboard and analytics, your tasks, your messages, everything in one place. It's just been magical. So that's Careco. The ROI speaks for itself. We spent over a year developing and testing this extensively at Previva Health Group, my other company, before making it available to anyone else. The results? We found that care coordinators increased capacity from 200 to 320 patients. Our gross margin increased by 90%. We saw a 16x ROI after implementing Careco. And most importantly, our care coordinators stayed because they could finally focus on what they actually love doing: caring for their patients. And we've seen similar results from our other customers.
The word I use whenever I reference Careco is it's life-changing. If Careco were turned off tomorrow, I would seriously have to think about finding where Careco was so I could go work there. Careco has become so ingrained in what I do and helps so much and makes me a better nurse.
Careco has made my job a lot easier. It's also made it easier as far as delegating patients to the care managers. We've been able to give them each more patients. They have all given me great feedback. They love the program. They love the easiness of it.
Every care coach that we have with our company got into this line of work for the same reason. They want to help people. Careco now gives them the ability to help more people and to help manage more lives. My team would not be okay with getting rid of Careco.
We're so confident in Careco's impact that we're offering a risk-free 7-day trial. No complex setup, no long-term commitments. If you don't immediately start seeing value from Careco, we don't want you to use it. So just click the link below to start your free trial. From there, you'll book an onboarding call with me or one of our incredible team members. On that call, we'll get you set up the same day we receive the HIPAA BAA from you. We'll provide your team with easy-to-follow training materials on how to use Careco, and we'll always be there 24/7 if you ever have any questions. You'll get to watch your care coordinator's attitude and efficiency transform in real time. I'll see you soon.